Hey, it's me, Tiago, and in this video we're gonna go over the 5 most common scams in the solar industry and how to avoid them so you can see if solar is or isn't the right decision for you. So, I've been helping homeowners go solar in over 22 states, and because of that, I talked to a lot of people. And remarkably, these people are split into 2 categories: people who love their solar panels and the savings associated with it, and people who rate it as the worst decision they've made in their life. So, why is that happening? Almost always is because they were talked into putting solar panels on the roof by a sales rep who was not looking out for the customer's best interest and was unethical in the process. So we're gonna go over the most common pitfalls so you can avoid getting ripped off and actually make a decision that's beneficial for you. Let's dive in. Scam number 1, free solar panels. Quite often you see people advertising solar panels as free. This is not true. Much as with anything in life, remember there's no such thing as a free lunch and there's no such thing as free solar panels. Solar panels actually have a significant investment amount, typically ranging from $20,000 to $60,000, depending on the size and consumption of your house. Solar is a smart investment in many cases, but it's never free. There are 2 things that make solar panels seem free. First is that it usually just means zero money down. With financing, leases, PPAs, they all offer options for you to go solar without any upfront costs and without having to have a down payment. Second, your solar payments, they might be equal to or lower than what your current utility bill is. This will depend on each state as they have different electricity costs and also what the current interest rates are. But the combination of both of these, zero money down and swapping out your bills, can make a lot of sense in a lot of cases, but labeling them as free makes them sound like something they aren't. Scam number 2, not calculating your consumption properly. For a solar system to be properly sized, we need to understand what the energy consumption of the house is in kilowatt hours. That way, we avoid having too many panels and you paying for extra panels you don't need, or too few panels, and thus your solar system not producing all the energy your house demands. To calculate this, first we need to understand if there are any big foreseen changes in your energy consumption. Do you plan perhaps on having an electric car? Or do you plan perhaps on installing a pool or a hot tub? Or are maybe children leaving the house? All of these things matter. Secondly, we have to look at your house's energy consumption over the last 12 months. Now, here's the catch. Some utilities display this information neatly in the utility bill, like this bill from Duke Energy, where you can clearly see that over the last 12 months, this house consumed 9,669 kilowatt hours. But some don't. This is an example of a utility bill with Florida Power and Light, and as you can see, they only offer a graph. And what a lot of reps do is they just eyeball it. They would see, here's the consumption for January 2022. Seems to be about 1,700 kilowatt hours. February, maybe about 1,600. March, a little bit lower, maybe about 1,550. This literally happened last week. I had a client who received a proposal for a solar system with 33 panels, and the solar rep said it would produce 100% of the energy demands of that house. But when I made a design for the home, I actually saw that they needed 44 panels to produce 100% of their energy demand. How can it be that they needed 12 more panels? The solar rep was calculating this homeowner's usage much lower than it actually was. Now, why is that a problem? The problem is that if a solar rep calculates your solar usage much lower than it actually is, he'll put less panels on the roof than necessary. This will make the whole investment smaller and the solar payments cheaper, and this will make the investment more attractive to you, even though it is misleading. Those are not real numbers. And once you've gone through the effort of putting panels on your roof and you receive an extra charge from the utility company, charging you for the extra energy the panels weren't able to produce, you'll be pretty upset, as you were promised something and it wasn't actually delivered. What happens in quite a few cases like this is that the solar rep just says that you increase your energy consumption, You just need to add a couple extra panels on your roof, and thus you having to shell out money a second time. The best way to figure out what the exact consumption of the house is just to call the utility. That's what we did with that client with the 44 panels. He was in Florida, so we just called Florida Power and Light on a three-way call and asked them what the energy consumption of the house was in kilowatt hours for the last 12 months and got the exact figure. Scam number 3, escalators. This one is huge. If you choose to go with a lease or a PPA instead of financing your solar system, be sure to ask what the annual escalator rate is. What is an escalator rate? Simply put, it's a fixed percentage by which the payments for your solar system will go up every single year. These percentages vary, but the majority of escalators that are offered in the market are between 0.9 and 2.9%. I'll show you in just a bit how this affects your solar payments, but first we gotta ask, why are escalators even a thing? Solar companies might sell you these under the pretense that you're gonna have lower monthly payments in the first few years of the contract, thus saving you more money in the earlier years, but you'll have higher payments in the later years of the contract and much higher payments overall. So let's get practical and see an example here. Let's assume you opted for leasing your system, and here are the options for a 0% escalator, a 0.9, 1.9, and 2.9% escalators. In the 0%, your monthly payments will be $200. As you can see, these payments are fixed and will never go up over the term of the 25-year contract. Your total sum for 25 years will be 12 times 200 times 25 years, which equals $60,000. In the 0.9%, your initial monthly payments will be a little less, but they'll grow by 0.9% year after year. On year 1, they'll be $190 a month, year 2, $191.71, year 3, $193.44, and so on and so forth. Your total sum for 25 years will be $63,602. And for the 1.9 and 2.9%, same thing happens. Lower initial monthly payments, but much higher payments overall. And on a 1.9% escalator, you start with monthly payments of $180 a month, but they quickly rise to $183, $186, $190. And on 2.9% escalator, you have even lower monthly payments of $170 a month, but look at what happens starting on year 10 of the agreement. Suddenly, your payments start increasing much faster, relentlessly, year after year. As you can see on a 2.9% escalator, your payment at the end of the agreement will be $337 a month compared to $200 a month on a 0% escalator. You can see that a 2.9% escalator skyrockets your monthly payments and increases the total amount you pay by over $13,000. Remember, an escalator rate is compound interest working against you. If a solar rep is not upfront about what the annual escalator rate is, this might cause the solar payments to seem much smaller than they actually will be in the future. You'll have a perceived notion of higher savings, but that won't actually be the case. If you do decide to go with a lease, always opt for a 0% escalator. You might have to pay a couple more bucks per month in the first few years, but you'll end up saving much more money in the long run. Scam number 4, you will never have another bill or your bill will go to zero. In the majority of markets, if not all, you have to pay a connection charge to the utility provider. This charge varies from utility to utility, but most of them are in the range between $7 and $30 a month. This is necessary because as long as you're not 100% off grid, you need to be connected to the grid, so they're able to provide you with energy when your panels are not producing, for example during nighttime, and during the day, if you're in a place that has net metering, you're able to sell the excess energy you produce back into the grid and receive a credit for it. We'll go more in depth into what net metering is in another video, but make sure you understand what the connection charges are for your utility. The last thing you want is to invest in solar panels and think you'll never have another bill, and then suddenly you're hit with those charges from your utility. Scam number 5, the government will send you a check. The Solar Investment Tax Credit, or ITC, is a measure by the American government to help accelerate the transition into clean energy. It is one of the most important federal policy mechanisms to help support the growth of solar energy in the United States, and also one of the big reasons why solar makes so much sense financially. With the investment tax credit, you're able to apply 30% of the total cost of your solar system as a tax credit to your federal tax bill. So for example, let's say the total cost of your system is $30,000. In this case, if you purchase the system, for example, through cash or a loan, you would be eligible for a $9,000 tax credit, which is 30% of $30,000. So the net system cost, as long as you can take advantage of the tax credit, is $21,000. And in this scenario, let's say that by the end of the year, you owe $10,000 in income taxes. With the solar tax credit, you can reduce that amount by $9,000 and you would only owe $1,000 to the government. Now, what is crucially important is that this is not a rebate, it is a credit. It's a dollar for dollar reduction in the amount of income tax you would otherwise owe. You will not receive a check from $9,000 from the government. It is a reduction from the amount you already owe in taxes. If you don't have a tax liability, you might not be able to receive that money. This has been recorded in May 2023. Laws may change. Always consult with your accountant or CPA to see if you'd be eligible for the tax credit. So this is it. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to learn more about how solar works and make the right decision for you. Let me know down in the comments below if you learned anything new or if you have any questions. And if you'd like me to build a custom solar quote for your house and together go over all the numbers to see if solar makes sense for you, head on over to customsolarquote.com. You can click at the button in the video here, or you can head down at the description box below. Just fill out this form and I'll reach back out. We can do it all over the phone if that's easiest for you. My contact details will also be in the description box below. Thank you for watching.